rich in terms of its civilizational history, and right from the oldest. Our civilization is actually one of the oldest. I mean, we date back to Harappa, and then the Vedas and all the Aryan civilization. So we are very lucky to be born in a country which is so rich in its heritage. Ours is not a new country. We are an old soul. Our country has an old soul, and which is reflected in its civilization, in its people, in our our literature, our diverse languages, everything for that matter. It gets reflected in that, and now our country is actually going through a transition. We are, so to say, in a transitional phase where we are seeing a lot of new things and the amalgamation of the new and the old, and we are in a very, very interesting phase right now. The most interesting thing about India is that we have always been able to assimilate a lot of things. There's never a confrontation. India is more about assimilation than confrontation. So that is, I think, the essence of India, and that is the reason why our civilization is so rich and so old, because whenever there is a clash, it would result in something ending. But India has not seen that clash. It has always seen assimilation. So I think that is the beauty of India, and that is why our civilization will keep moving forward despite all these changes, and we are able to adapt. I think that is the essence of being an Indian, of being able to adapt to all kinds of changes, and making it a part of our culture. So definitely, I'm really looking forward to reading this book. It looks very interesting. I'm sure it is very interesting. It is so nice to see that somebody who is living not in India, but who is still so deeply connected to India. So I think that reflects how strong our culture is and how strong our heritage is. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak here, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. So maybe a few words from your end.
Dear Sharad, my colleagues and respected invitees, it's a great honor to be here, away from the evil and negative things around which I'm normally surrounded with. Yeah. And a book launch always signifies our foray into new learning and meeting a different set of people than what we are normally accustomed to in our day-to-day lives. Sharad is a good friend of my childhood friend, who's been my school friend for over 45 years. So my friend Srivat Sanjay, who is the Deputy Director General of Tourism, and Sharad. And I too share some of Sharad's roots from Patna. And despite being an IT professional and staying in a distant land, he has been able to do so much of assimilation of Indian culture. There's so much of anthropology, there's so much of genetics, there's so much of Sanskrit, there's so much of culture. And this entire book conveys what was ancient Indian subcontinent, and the unified Akhand Bharat, whatever it was, right from the corner of Meghalaya right up to Afghanistan, and right from Jammu and Kashmir, Nepal and Sri Lanka. Yeah. So that is what I see in this book. And this book is not relevant just for we Indians, it is as much relevant for those who are in Pakistan, those who are in Afghanistan, Nepal, and it's sort of an Asian book. It's a book which is relevant for the whole of Asia. And I'm sure there will be readers, when it goes back, there will be people who will be very curious about this culture. It's only for the last 400 or 500 years we have gone into a development depression or a self-esteem depression, and we seem to be lifting ourselves out of that depression and rediscovering ourselves, and people like Sharad are helping us to do it a little more faster, because realizing your roots, and our roots are not historically old, but we are archaeologically also very, very old. Historically old could go back about 500, 600 years, but archaeologically old could go back to a couple of centuries. And it's a reminder of the concepts of the culture and principles on which ancient Hinduism spread out to different parts of the whole world, and how Hinduism came down also because of its own burden, and how Hinduism is rejuvenating ourselves, and how Renaissance had an effect, how European Renaissance had an effect on Hinduism. And despite so much of foreign civilization or foreign invaders having played havoc right from 10th century onwards, the Hindu culture has managed to retain itself quite strongly, and of late it has been becoming, it's rooting itself more firmly. And what was being criticized as being very ritualistic, those rituals have now come to remain our strength, and others who questioned these are now taking shelter under it for unifying ourselves throughout. So this book gives several small glimpses. It talks about rivers, it talks about our tribes, it talks about our food, it talks about our culture, and over the period of what Arnold J. Toynbee has mentioned, that about birth, decay and rebirth of a civilization. And Sharad, you put it so nice about the rebirth of civilization, truly falling in line with what Arnold J. Toynbee, the great historian, says about the death of civilization and the rebirth of civilization. And I'm truly honored to be a part of this function today. And as my colleague also mentioned, that the Indian subculture can never die. It can, though it may be numerically a little less, but it has got a lot of significant messages that it can give to the whole world, especially during these troubled times when families are falling apart, society is falling apart, nations are falling apart, false relationships are emerging. So these original thoughts which were brought about by our extremely ancient scholars through their numerous books will always remain very, very relevant. So thank you so much for having brought about this book, and this book will really be a great unifier, not only of India, but it will, despite all our geopolitical differences, it will somehow bind people across Pakistan, people across Bangladesh, and people across the Sri Lankan government, Sri Lankan state, as well as Nepal also. So this is definitely something which youngsters would like to know, because as Isha was pointing out, that this is more relevant at this point of time, that when we are losing our identity, it is helping us to rediscover our identity. So thank you so much, God bless you, and thanks for having included all of us in this video. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the very wonderful message that we actually, with which we can start the
I
evening.
have not read it fully, but just while sitting in the car, I just had to look here at this.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, Bhaskar sir. Thank you, ma'am, for coming. For the viewers and listeners, I just gave the book to Mr. Bhaskar Rao just yesterday, and you know how well he concluded. Even I'm really so amazed and surprised. I know sir's time is very precious, and we won't have him take a lot of time. So I will very quickly go through the book, why I wrote this book and what it is in the book for everyone. So I would like to let the readers also read. There was some personal event which happened in 1990 when I first time traveled. I was very young at that time, not young in today's world, but you know, I had left my home, Patna, to Chennai, and I had some experience of wonderful India through that entire train journey. And you know, planes were at that time not that available the way it is from infrastructure perspective. So there was something which triggered, and I at that time, a 17-year-old young guy, had thought that when I will become something in life, or when I will be in a situation, I'll do something. Now that something did not mean that I had a view of a book, but you know, it ended up into a book. So you guys should read about it. Now, so I am in US for almost 20 years now. I was part of the corporate world, and now I have my own firm which I run, and also I have started writing lately. So I joined a political wing of a Republican Party. I know you guys are all aware of Mr. Donald Trump. So I'm officially part of his group. We need to be assimilating with the society. So that is one of the reasons to, you Indians should, now it's time to show that, who we are. So that's one of the reasons I joined. And during a lot of their meet, like they have statesman dinner and all, no, so they all know about India now, which is good for an American. India awareness is really good. Especially, people would know in California, they will know in New York, but in a Midwest, which is a white conservative belt, knowing about India is something really big. And but one thing I found that they still have a very stereotype image of India, not like as a country of snake charmer. They have upgraded themselves from there. But they still say, oh, you know what, you guys are having problem with China, so South Korea will take care of it. I said, do you even know what Indian army is now? And with the so they still think India is still like South Korea and all those things. So there was a need to make them understand what India is, and so this book came based on a lot of interaction with them, because I think that we haven't presented our story well. Our scholars have not presented our story well to the Western audience in a right way. Mostly it has been very left-centric, one particular view, whether it's a Macaulay's view or the Darwin's theory. So I've written a lot about the book, guys. It's about entire. So we are told that our first ancestor came from Africa, and then they did peopling of India happened. So I'm contradicting a lot of them, and I was briefly part of. In fact, I did my masters in Kharagpur, and even in Rakhi Gari research is happening. IIT Kharagpur is deeply involved in it, and what I'm telling through this book, what I'm telling to the youth is. See, when we were studying engineering or my brother is in medicine, we still depend too much on the Western scholars' code. It's time when Indians should come out. Indians, especially the young kid researchers, should have their own standards, own SOPs, and own codes, whether it's any walk of life, right? Now, history mostly has been taken what. Some Western scholars with the 50 years old empirical data, they said, okay, there was some Aryan invasion, there was some Dravidian, and we blindly took it because it came from some Mr. Cadwell or somebody. I'm telling to the youth, the time has come. Move out from the WhatsApp university, do some deep dive into the books, because eventually the books can never be replaced. That's where your real gyan is. And do not, I'm not saying you should question or discard all the existing knowledge, but it's high time when Indian youth should exert themselves globally. Anywhere in the world you go, we have presence. Anywhere. I have traveled like 20 countries. I've seen Indians. They wherever they are in a very good position. And because this is a country which has always respected knowledge, so this book is for the youth to motivate them to do more research. And I am talking about the Aryan invasion theory given, which we blindly follow, the Dravidian. I've even covered the Bhasha Vivad, which each time we keep on hearing imposition of one particular language on the other. So I have very beautifully dealt, people from North should study one South Indian language. And there is so we have 2 language formula, 3 language formula, and 4 language formula. So please read that book, it's very good. That I have covered. Then the peopling of the Indian subcontinent. So we are told that your first ancestor came from Africa, then all through Iran and then India, and the time which they have given, like 90,000 years and 60,000 years, and then their time with the Toga volcano eruption and all those things. So I'm kind of contradicting that with my research and reading. So around 25-30 books have been referenced. So you'll love to read the idea. But in the end, all I'll say is I'm not concluding anything. I'm telling you to just read and research more. Think truth cannot be only in one way. Look at my way or highway, right? There are other part of truth. Whatever happened in past, nobody has seen it. So I'm just telling our people the young people to do more research, more deep dive, and come out with your own real story, right? So that is one part. One interesting thing is I also did my genetics. So I met a professor in San Diego University. He's a scientist. He's an Indian origin gentleman named Suresh Subramani. So I sat in his lab and I said, okay, if we all came from monkeys, where did the evolution process stop? Like, why do we still have monkeys and human living together? If one species evolved into another species, the other species should have died, right? So there was no proper explanation from a person who is like, who might be even getting a Nobel Prize. So what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of scope for our ancient wisdom, as Sir rightly mentioned. Do not just go by the political news. Politicians are not supposed to tell you about this type of thing. This is serious matters, right? If a politician says about Pushpakiyan, they cannot explain you. It will be more mockery if it comes from a politician. It should be coming from a serious researcher, people, and then you should, even if that was a concept, 1,000 years back, that concept was a big thing, right? Idea. So I take things like that rather than, so taking very political stand. And this is what this book is trying to open a lot of areas for people. So history is no more to me a date. It has genetics, it has archaeology. We haven't dug the Indian after all we know is a Harappan civilization, but there's a pre-Harappan civilization. There's a lot of things which is buried inside. But India was a developing country. Our priority was different. Now, as you grow, as you become 5 trillion economy, maybe, good luck. I think we may. So we can definitely put more emphasis on the research. And that's where all the young kids who want to do research any area, right? You should be definitely doing some serious study, because history and this having your own standard definitely makes you a leader. The leadership quality, whether you become in the police or you're a lawyer or a film artist, wherever you go, that feeling, that confidence to excel in whatever you do, that comes from these type of work. It doesn't come from so all those things are mixed in this book, and I would like the readers to read and enjoy the book. A lot of research has gone, guys. 15 months I have spent in this book, apart from my work and family. Family is a big thing, especially when you are in US, when you have no support staff. Like sir would be having like tons of army of people, but for us, whoever you are, we have to still keep on doing our each and every petty work, because that's how that country is. So it was really hard to have time and write, read, and also continue doing work. So I would say for all the readers, please read it and enjoy this book, and it will give you a lot of insight about who you are, who we are, and you will be really proud of India. But again, don't read political news. Don't read, okay, Hindu paper said this, Times of India said this. No, politician and paper is out. Serious book. I know reading has dwindled, but if there are certain things which you can definitely read, and these books bring all those facets of things. So I think we'll keep it short for now. And
thank you very much.